Hey folks, so we're going to fly everyone's favorite spacecraft, the Banu Defender. We're going to tackle some VHRT missions using laser cannons, and then even change it up and try mixing in some scatterguns to see how they work out. We'll talk more about the fit at the end, so let's get into it. So first up, we're up against an Anvil Valkyrie, which is a pretty good target to start against because it's relatively slow and pretty big, so it's a good warm-up for VHRTs. Both it and the Warden are usually fun first enemies to go against before you ramp up against something more challenging like a Hurricane. I've got Omni Skies on this. I've opted for laser cannons because you get more shots, more firing time out of your capacitor before having to recharge. And the DPS is about the same, so as long as you can land your shots, you'll be doing more effective DPS than if you have something like laser repeaters. After blowing up the target, I'm warping out and heading on to the next VHRT. Now we can see that we're up against that Hurricane. I could have opened with some missiles to start to try and soften it up because the Hurricane is a challenging target, but the Banu Defender only comes with 4 size 2 missiles, and you can't actually change your missile racks at all, so you can't get more smaller missiles. So I tried to be as representative as possible of its long-term performance, so I just stuck with the Omni Skies to try and take it out as much as possible. You are pretty maneuverable in the Defender. You can see that I'm doing a reasonable job keeping up with him as he's trying to juke around me. You're about as maneuverable as a Buccaneer. You're a lot heavier. You're almost as heavy as a Cuddy Black, but you've got a lot of maneuvering thrust, so you do pretty well there. The nice thing is you actually have a size 2 shield instead of size 1 shields, and so what ends up happening is you have 7,500 shield HP. So that's about 5 times as much shield as an arrow gets, or 2.5 times as much shield as something like a Gladius or a Buccaneer. So you can actually end up keeping your cap on your weapons for much longer before you need to create some space to go and recharge your shields. And you can see that I'm taking advantage of that here. I let my shield percentage get pretty low because I want to just keep the DPS up as much as possible and try and burst him down. You can see that the allies just spawned in, but I'm gonna keep just trying to focus down the target before worrying about who else might be out there, as long as I'm not having any sort of difficulty taking the incoming damage. He's in the red now, so we're pretty close to having taken him out. And so I do my best to sort of not get too aggressive with my piloting and let him do all the maneuvering and try to find my opportunities when he's slowing down to make his U-turns, and then I get him. Now I check to see who else has spawned in, to see if there's any other fun, easy kills. The first target that I end up locking is a Hurricane, and I decide that is not the time for me, so I get out of here. For this last VHRT, we've switched up the fit a little bit just for fun. We've put on some Light Strike laser cannons instead of the Omni Skies that we had on there before. They're effectively the same. The Light Strikes have a little bit less signature that they contribute to the ship, but otherwise they're the same DPS, same range. But we've swapped 2 of the laser cannons for 2 laser scatterguns, the size 3 pyro bursts. So the idea is, we've got a pretty maneuverable ship, so we're going to try and take advantage of that by getting within the 400 meter range for those pyro bursts and getting some big damage on the targets as we're getting up close. This is against a Hurricane, as we can see here, so this is basically going to be the hardest target you could potentially try to use these on. So we'll really put them through their paces. We've also got the Light Strikes as kind of a backup for when targets get out of that range. We can still keep firing at them and keep the pressure on the shield while we're getting back into the range to do the big damage with the Scatterguns. And so we're basically just going to try and do our best to get a good angle of attack on this Hurricane, keeping close within range, but as you can see right here, I'm taking a bunch of damage on my shields, and so as I look away for a second, I lose track of my target right as one of the Sabres crosses the same path, and I accidentally get distracted by the wrong target. Eventually, I do end up relocating my target. I take advantage of the fact that I did get disoriented to just pull some range to recharge my shields before re-engaging. Unfortunately, even though I spanned some decoys, I did end up eating a missile shot right there. Such is the way of things. But pretty soon I end up getting back into the rhythm, and now I've once again sort of established myself within pyro burst range of this hurricane. A small mistake for me right there. I forgot to get my cap back to weapons, but I catch it soon enough, and because I'm staying in range, I'm able to get a couple good shots right on the broadside of it, and it blows up. The Sabres should be relatively easy to take out, even if they are teleporting around with some desync. The cannons will make quick work of them, and the pyro bursts will too, if I can get a good angle on them. They're not super fast or maneuverable. They're actually less maneuverable than the Defender by a good margin, and they're also pretty flimsy, so that one blows up, or it blows itself up. I'm not exactly sure what happened. It could have been desync, there could have been an asteroid there. And so we'll also make quick work of this last one here. This is why it's nice to keep the laser cannons with the pyro bursts against these more maneuverable targets. You can take advantage of the medium range and not just be tied to keeping in short range with some of the faster targets. So now let's talk about the fit that we used. Let's start with the cannons first. The main thing to talk about here is that we had used the Omni Skies for the video, but I would actually recommend using the FL series. You get a little bit less signature with the Omni Skies, but the FL series has no weapon spread, so that'll probably do you better because your signature is not that small to begin with. Other than that, you do have stealth power plants and shields to try and reduce whatever signature you can to try and let you dodge whatever missiles that you can. Then the Pyro Burst fit is basically the same recommendation, except you swap 2 of the weapons out for Pyro Bursts. I would overall say it's probably a little bit less effective because it's a lot harder to kill hurricanes with this, but it's a lot of fun in a different way because it really forces you to focus on your piloting. So I'd recommend it just if you're looking for some variety and to have some fun. Thanks for watching. Have fun out there. Cheers.